Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media, and it is a pleasure to have a quick return appearance from this very cool group called Face Foundation. We got the executive director joining us again, Stephanie Coolidge. How you doing there?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. You brought your development director with you, Annamarie Maricle. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Thanks for joining us over here. And of course, I am with my very cool and outstanding co-host, and that is Isha Walia. She was an incoming junior at Northeastern University this fall, but she's been doing a curiosity ship. We call those curiosity ships, not internships. This is her fourth edition of it. Got one more next Friday. I've been doing a great job as a co-host. Are you enjoying yourself?
I am. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm learning a lot from you as well. I think you have a question right out of the gate for Stephanie.
Yeah, tell us, what's the mission of the Face Foundation?
So Face Foundation was established to eliminate economic euthanasia. What that means is an animal is seen by a veterinarian, and they are they're diagnosed with a medical condition that it could potentially be fatal, and it is fatal unless it's treated with usually a surgery, and that family cannot afford that surgery, and their only other option is to humanely euthanize that animal because of their financial status. And so at Face Foundation, we believe that your financial status should not play a factor in your ability to have an animal companion.
Right. So in that vein, so do you, Annamarie, is your job to raise the funds to have that in the bank, so to speak, that when this family cannot afford or can only pay for part of the surgery or whatever the case may be, make up the difference?
Yes, it's an ongoing effort to raise funds from people, individuals, foundations, businesses.
Do you work with other veterinarians? And you can answer this, or you can use Stephanie. Will some of the vets donate their time and money, if need be, with folks who can't afford?
Absolutely. I think most vets, if not all vets, do that. We work very closely, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago with 200 veterinarians in San Diego. And Face Foundation was founded by veterinarians because they understood that a lot of these vets would take this upon themselves. The profit margin in veterinary medicine is only about 10 cents to the dollar. So when they give away services, they're taking that right out of their paycheck. But veterinarians, it's an occupation of the heart. Of course, they're going to do everything that they can, but it's great for them to be able to call us and for us to cover that cost for them so they continue doing business and doing good for the community.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we talked about before, and Gary Weitzman, we mentioned his name, and he actually followed you, I think, the last time you were on, the unbelievable president and CEO of the San Diego Humane Society. And anybody who's met him knows he's quite a guy. He's written 10 books, and I don't know how he does it. But obviously, there's a challenge in the world of veterinarians. There's a shortage, as you guys know, quite a bit, and they have the same debt as medical doctors, but they don't necessarily make the same income as medical doctors. So it's a challenge on that as well. So any little bit helps out in that vein. So do you work with groups like Humane Society on those types of things?
Absolutely. So the E in FACE stands for education, and that's where the partnerships with other nonprofits come into play. So when an animal is adopted from a nonprofit, whether it's a Humane Society or a nonprofit rescue, a lot of the smaller groups, we're there to talk to them about insurance, talk to them about what you might face in case an emergency happens, and Gary at San Diego Humane Society, Judy at Rancho Coastal Humane Society, and all these other places refer to us and let people know that we exist so that when they do maybe are confronted with the situation, they know who to call. But there's an education component. Be careful, what breed you choose for your lifestyle. For instance, if you're not an active person, you don't want to get a husky, because they will eat your couch if you don't run them enough, and that ends up being a foreign body surgery. And if you're not prepared for that, that's where the phone call to face happens. So we educate the community not only about just puppy care and animal care, but what you could confront if you probably will have an emergency at some point with an animal.
Well, you are so spot on that. And before we get over to Isha has a question for you on the Save a Life program. Before we do that, that is so true. That you need to go into this thing, doing your research about this aspect of it. And you had a good point. My cousin got a Dalmatian and didn't realize how active Dalmatians are. And I said, are you kidding me? My first dog, his name was Spot, and it was a part Dalmatian. It literally looked like you could not name the dog anything but Spot, okay? 2 black eyes, a whole bunch of spots. But he knew our dog and loved it, and so I'm going to get a purebred Dalmatian until it ate everything in the house. Oven mitts, anything that wasn't secured, and right to the vet to have. So almost every time I'd call him would be, what surgery did we have now? Well, we had a new one, X, Y, and Z. But you're right on, right, Stephanie?
Yeah. And there's other dogs like, pugs and Frenchies are really popular right now. Frenchie just won the big Westminster Award, but Frenchies can't run very fast. They have a short palate, and it's really tough for them to breathe. So if you are an active person, you're not going to go on a run with a pug or a Frenchie, or you could face some really serious issues, or with a bulldog. So
that's right.
Again, just educating people on what dog works for you and your family, and maybe a dog doesn't work for your family. Maybe you should try a cat or something else.
So spot or bird or whatever. So spot on, Isha.
Yeah, Stephanie, tell us about the Save a Life program.
So the Save a Life program is what we just talked about. That's 90% of what FACE does. It's that relationship with the veterinarians, the funding of vet care to prevent economic euthanasia. There are some other programs that FACE Foundation hosts in the San Diego community. Our community outreach program, we work with people suffering from homelessness that have pets, that love their animals just as much as you and I do, but they don't have the money to care for that animal. And so we're out on the streets. We go down to Imperial Avenue and Father Joe's Village. We work with other vets that are working down, just going into tents and asking them what they need until they can get back on their feet. But 90% of what we do is that Save a Life program. But we're not, when there's a need and there's a call, we're there to help in whatever capacity that is for the animals of San Diego.
We're chatting with our friends from the FACE Foundation, Stephanie Coolidge, the executive director, joined by her development director, and that's Annamarie Maricle. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. Around our 17th year, broadcasting these really cool Mission Fed studio in Scripps Ranch and Mission Federal Credit Union, just continuing to do great things in our community. They've been doing so for more than 60 years. So, Annamarie, when you go ahead, are you getting your funds from grants? Are you getting individuals? Is it from corporations? Is it from all of the above? It's
from all of the above, and our board and staff help a lot with the fundraising. I mean, it's like a team effort.
Right, exactly. Now, Stephanie, you and I may have talked about this before, and then Gary corroborated one of the questions I ask Gary all the time is San Diego considered a pretty good pet-friendly community? And Gary has the same answer. He goes, well, everyone says that when they get to a place. When he got here 10 years ago or whatever, of course people are going to say it's the greatest. He goes, you know what? This is a great pet-friendly community. That must make it a little easier for you, Annamarie, to raise money because you've got people that love their pets here, right?
There are a lot of people who love their pets, and they know how they would feel if something were to happen and they had to see their pet not make it.
Yeah.
So they want to help. They want to give back.
Yeah, it's absolutely devastating. Must be in some ways pretty good in that aspect for what you would do too as well, Stephanie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I used to live in Portland, Oregon, which is another really big Animal City. But, the amount of yappy hours that happen on a weekend in
beautiful.
San Diego represents the love for our animals. I mean, you walk down Hillcrest, downtown, whatever neighborhood you're in, and somebody's having a yappy hour on every block to raise money for an animal rescue. So that speaks for itself. We love our animals.
Have you heard that term?
I've never heard that before.
How do I'm going to dock Gary's pay for not telling me. That is a great term on this. And that makes all the sense in the world. And whether you have a pet or not, whether, that's not your gig, you could just imagine how people can feel with that. And it's all types of pets. And it's not just the dogs. And you mentioned, cats and so forth, birds, pick a topic on it, turtles. I've made this pretty clear to my listeners here. I grew up in an animal-friendly household. We had guinea pigs, we had a snake, we had a cricket farm, you name it. And that's really you talk about how important that human-animal bond is, Stephanie.
So one of the stories that we told, especially the San Diego Animal Hero Awards that just occurred on Saturday.
Right.
We just touched on the people experiencing homelessness in San Diego. Their animal is the reason why they get up in the morning. A lot of these folks, while they're going through a terrible time. We also witnessed some incredible nominees at our San Diego Animal Hero Awards. These animals are service animals. And of course, my Labrador isn't a service animal, but for me, he's my favorite thing when I walk through the door after a hard 100%. Day's work. He puts a smile on my face. He's just everything. He just elevates my life to another level. But I've seen animals save a human's life. We had a golden retriever who's a service animal to a veteran who was exposed to nerve gas in the Desert Storm. And really was on the brink of death. So much pain, 30 lesions on her brain. She had neurological issues, obviously a ton of PTSD. And it wasn't until Orbit, this golden retriever, came into her life, learned 80 different commands that calm her down, both neurologically and emotionally and everything, that she was able to not consider taking her own life anymore. And he just does a number of things. And then we also met another golden retriever. And Drew, you're going to love this because you're a golden person.
I am.
But there are golden retrievers at Rady's Children's Hospital.
Yep.
There are golden retrievers in, and not just golden retrievers, actually. There's rescue animals that work in our foster system in San Diego. They go and they rest their head on the children that have to testify against their abusers in court, so to calm them down. I'm telling you these stories because that is the power of an animal.
100%.
And so if you consider that, you can, that represents what all of our animals do for us. When we're sitting on the couch and they cuddle up next to us after a hard day, there's something very powerful that happens with a human-animal bond. And we think that every human deserves to have that if that's something that they want in life, again, despite their financial status.
Yeah, without question, when we come back, Stephanie, we're going to talk more about some of your cool favorite stories. We'll talk about this German Shepherd who had a medical condition where the stomach twisted, and I know that well because that happened to our standard poodle and so forth. We'll talk about that. I know each has got some more questions for you as well. We always end up the second half with what our listeners can do to support your efforts when we return with our conversation with Stephanie Coolidge, Executive Director of Face Foundation, joined by her Development Director, Annamarie Maricle. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, joined by my co-host, Isha Walia. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media. We are the longest running community podcast in the nation. Been doing this for 17 years, sponsored by Mission Fed Credit Union and these really cool Mission Fed studio and Scripps Ranch. And Mission Fed has been a great community leader for more than 60 years, joined by our friends from Face Foundation, Stephanie Coolidge, Executive Director, and Annamarie Maricle, the Development Director. And I'm with my terrific co-host, Isha Walia, will be an incoming junior at Northeastern University in Boston. Isha.
Yeah, Stephanie. So being at the Face Foundation for 5 years, I'm sure that you've witnessed, many amazing stories and just seen what this organization has done. Tell us in specific about the service dog, that German Shepherd that you saved.
Ace. You're talking about Ace,
Yeah.
Allison's dog. What a cool dog. And that's such a fleshed out story that's really cool. So that dog had what is called bloat, where the stomach twists, and that is a big emergency. Some emergencies you can wait. For instance, if there's a fracture or something like that, you can splint it up and kind of wait to see what happens. But a bloat, that dog will die very quickly if you don't go in and correct that. And then we'll also do what we call a tack, which is tack the stomach up against the wall so that it doesn't happen again. So Ace was brought to us, and we knew that Ace was a service dog, but we didn't know the extent of what he did for Allison. Of course, he was approved. They financially qualified, and so we funded that surgery. Allison then was so motivated by Ace and just really moved by what we did for them. She started her own nonprofit where she teaches other people how to train service animals and how to, her dog also knows 80 commands.
Wow.
I mean, I barely know 80 commands. So this dog is really incredible. And to bring it full circle, the work that she did was so powerful that she was actually nominated for a San Diego Animal Hero Award for her work with other service animals by our foundation's event that we just held on Saturday. So not only did we save Ace's life, but then Allison paid it forward and is now running a nonprofit to teach other people how to have a dog like Ace.
How many dogs got those awards at your big event?
So seven. Dogs that were maybe four. Yeah.
And the rest were?
Animal advocates. So people that help animals.
Very well. Listen, that's terrific. And how many people went to the event?
Probably 250 were there. It was a packed house.
Where'd you do it?
Brick and Liberty Station.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned that before.
Yeah, it was a beautiful event. We could not have asked for a better turnout. And what a night to honor these veterinarians. We had them all raise their hands and we acknowledged all of their hard work in San Diego and then all of the nonprofits. And the San Diego Animal Hero of 2023, there were 6 categories, so 6 winners that received $1,000 for the San Diego charity of their choice and a trophy.
Nice.
But the main winner was a nonprofit called Frosted Faces, which is a really cool place. They adopt geriatric animals from the shelters that are having a hard time finding a home.
Really?
Yeah, and when they adopt these animals out, they only have a couple of years left.
Right.
You're giving them the best years of their life. They've been relinquished at an old age, which is very heartbreaking, but you never know the situation. No judgment. We don't know why they end up there. But not only do they adopt these animals out, they give them medical care, they give them veterinary care before they go to their home, but then they fund the vet care for the rest of their life while they're in your care. I mean, this organization is just absolutely wonderful, and they won the award on Saturday, and they deserved it. They're incredible.
Well, you may have to bring them in the next time you're on, because as you know, and shame on me for not even knowing about this stuff, being an animal lover, that we can't do enough in this space. What you're doing, of course, and what Gary is doing, and now with Frosted what?
Frosted Faces. So that's when you're the dog's face starts to go gray when they get older. So we call them frosty faces.
That happened to Jesse, and my daughter Samantha was just shocked. When did Jesse get to be an old man like you, Dad? Well, she didn't say that, actually. I added that last part in this area. So talk about some of the challenges that you face. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but it can't hurt to go over those again.
As far as challenges in the veterinary industry?
Veterinarian, the raising the funds, with the whole aspect of it.
I think one thing that everybody's talking about right now is the rising cost of veterinary medicine.
Right.
And, before I came on today, because the last time I was here, this was the topic that we thought we might be able to, discuss a little more. I interviewed 10 veterinarians yesterday to prep to come here, and I interviewed vets that graduated 2 years ago. And vets that are in their 70s, and some of them are still practicing, some of them retired. And it was really interesting to get the different views from these different veterinarians on why the costs are rising. There were a couple that had nothing to do with veterinary medicine, inflation. I mean, inflation is going to impact everything. There's also a newer generation that are graduating, and they are very... their work-life balance is important, and they're not going to work 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, and die earlier from cardiac arrest. They are not going to live that life. They are coming out saying, I want a better work-life balance. I want to get paid fairly. I want good benefits. And that is a culture. That is the next generation's demand. And then there's other things in the industry, like corporate acquisitions that are affecting the cost of veterinary medicine. And I want to say this, a lot of people will attribute the rise in cost to those corporations. I don't think that's the only reason. And there's actually some good parts to corporate acquisition. I have a lot of friends. Most of my friends are veterinarians or in the industry. Many of them have, for the first time, a 401k, fantastic health benefits, a salary that they can live on in the city of San Diego, where we know our cost of living is astronomical.
Right.
And so that is a result of some of these corporate places providing. Now, I want to emphasize, I hope and I wish and I will be an advocate to ensure that these corporations put the animals before the shareholders. And that's a conversation that we could go on and on about. So I'm just going to say that until I die, I'm going to be an advocate for that. Put the animals first, not the shareholders. And if the corporations can do that, then I think we'll be okay. And there's other, we've got, I noticed that our quality of vet medicine is so much better. 50 years ago, you had just a general practitioner and they did everything. If you had an eye problem, a heart problem, a cancer, you went to your GP and they did everything, your GP vet. And now we have specialists. We have oncology for dogs.
Right.
We have, skin doctors for dogs. We have ophthalmologists for dogs. So if you have an eye issue, you can get referred out to them. And we all know, even in human medicine, that if you go to a specialist, it's more expensive.
That's right.
And so that can be contributed to the cost as well. But what a great thing to have all of these elevated level of care for our animals, but it does cost. So the solutions, in my opinion, and we keep going back to this insurance thing, right? We need to get away from the reimbursement model, which is what pet insurance is. And I said this the last time I was here. I can't pay $10,000 and get it back in 2 weeks if I don't have $10,000 in the first place. And so I think eventually we're going to have to reevaluate the pet insurance model, and they're going to have to pay the veterinary hospital directly while you're there, so that you're not taking on that financial burden. My Labrador had a foxtail that perforated his esophagus and went to a specialty hospital, I think it was about 15 years ago. He's no longer with us. But that bill was, I think I paid that bill off for 10 years. It was a huge vet bill. Wow. And I was very young when it happened, so I didn't make a lot of money at the time. And so we can't have that happen. We can't continue to have that happen. But I'm enjoying the elevated vet care, but we need to figure out a better insurance model. And I think that's going to be the solution long-term. Vet techs should make enough money to support their families. Veterinarians shouldn't have to fear the navigation of a conversation about cost. I talked to a vet yesterday that said an MRI machine for a veterinary specialist is $1 million. It's $100,000 a year for maintenance for an MRI machine for veterinary medicine.
Wow.
When you go get an MRI in a human doctor, you pay a copay. That's it.
Yeah.
When you go to a veterinarian and you pay for an MRI, you're looking at thousands of dollars because we're just not in that model yet. I think the fear, and I heard this for the first time yesterday. The fear, though, is that we all know that insurance is the solution, but let's make sure that if the insurance company starts to work with these corporations, what we don't want to do is remove the veterinary patient-client bond, right? The veterinarian wants the freedom to practice the medicine that they want to practice and not be subjected to an insurance company saying, I want to do an MRI. I think this is medically appropriate. And then them saying, well, we're not going to cover that. So that's the tricky part and we'll get there. But these are solutions. We also talked about the urgent care factor that's happening. And I saw yesterday one of my favorite surgeons in San Diego is opening up another urgent care here. And I think that's really filling in the gap because you've got the GPs, you've got the specialties, and of course specialties, they cost more money, but it's for a reason. They're absolutely incredible veterinarians. But what happens when your GP is full and you just have an emergency right now and you can't wait hours or a week? I think these urgent cares are going to play a role in the solution to veterinary costs and making sure that we're still putting the animals first.
Right. Now, we're again, what great. First of all, thank you for interviewing 10 vets to get prepared for this show and getting some eye-opening, in some ways, responses on, wow, that's a culture of a new veterinarian. Not bad or good, just different, right, in that aspect of it. Are there other people that are leading the way in this area besides you? You're a great advocate for this.
I think there's veterinarians that are acutely aware of change that needs to happen.
Right. But is there a coalition that is getting together and, I'm not sure if this thing can pass by legislation. I don't know what can happen, But usually when you coalesce, some things happen.
Yeah, there's Dr. Blackwell at the University of Tennessee that worked with a nonprofit, actually, that gave them a grant to do a study on what we're talking about right now and to mitigate that. I think there will be more groups that are going to step in. The FDIC actually got involved with one of the largest corporations. And when the FDIC gets involved in a corporate takeover and demands that they sell off a portion of their hospitals because they are affecting the ability for private practices to compete with cost of vets, that says something. That represents something. So I can see this is becoming top of mind for many of us in the industry, and there will be a coalition soon, and I hope that we can make tremendous change and make pet care affordable for all, and also support our beloved veterinarians that deserve to be paid fairly and to have a work-life balance, and have a 401k and all of the benefits that we're afforded in other industries.
That's great. How do they get a hold of you, Stephanie? How do people get a hold of you?
So Steph at faceforpets.org. You can also go to our website. That's probably the best. It's face4pets.org. That's our website. All of my contact information is there. And if anybody is passionate about what we're talking about today, we are starting to host think tanks with other veterinarians that so we can affect change in San Diego.
Well, wishing you nothing but great success on that. And the same thing with you, Annamarie. Raise those zillions of dollars that we need for those MRIs for animals. And we know we'll have you back on. This is a conversation that has to be said once, twice, 14,000 times. And you know that better, and appreciate all the great work you're doing, Stephanie.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year, having this wonderful conversation by the passionate Stephanie Coolidge, Executive Director of Face Foundation, joined by her Development Director, Annamarie Maricle, and my co-host. Another terrific job. Thank you so much, Isha. We hope everybody enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.